Okay, so let's try to break down the TOK essay prescribed title May 2025, and in coming weeks I'm going to post a dedicated videos for each topics. Okay, I've been teaching mathematics and chemistry, and you guys must be thinking, you're the STEM teacher, why are you talking about TOK at this point, right? But I've been also teaching TOK essay, and maybe because of my background I was able to help my students more efficiently, and that is reason why I want to share my tips and guide with you guys.
Okay.
So just for your information, most of my students got A and B's in past 2 years, since TOK curriculum has been updated. So I'm pretty sure my tips and guides are effective. Okay, so prescribed title number 1. Do historians and human scientists have an ethical obligation to follow the directive to not ignore contradictory evidence? Discussed with a reference to history and human science. So there are two focus words with this title. They are ethical obligation and contradictory evidence. This is a typical yes and no question. So you have to find yes and no perspective. But in my opinion, never say just yes because of this example, yet no because of this example. You have to reason with your example. So you're like sharing. Yeah, you're going to say yes. This is example that can support my answer. Yes, but because of these reasons. Okay, same thing. No, because of these reasons or this example, and because of my reasons for this example. Okay, so something like that. So don't forget, I'm going to upload a specific videos dedicated for each title in coming weeks, right? Let's go back to the title. Okay, so because it says that do historians and human scientists have an ethical obligation to follow the directive to not ignore contradictory evidence, right? So here, the ethical obligation that they are talking about here is not about your individual opinion, right? This is about the whole field of the historians and human scientists. Okay, so you need to think about what is the ethical obligation of the historians and what are the ethical obligation of the human scientists, and then think about the examples that where these historians and human scientists follow the directive to not ignore the contradictory evidence, right? And then because it says to discuss with reference to history and the human science, you can only talk about AOK history, AOK human science. So let's briefly talk about the examples. So examples are, I said, like Holocaust denial, revisionism, climate change, environmental history, the Turkish Slapi study, and the discovery of the American and indigenous populations. Okay, so some of you might be thinking, but some of the teachers, like maybe my teachers, say never talk about the Holocaust or World War II. Like in my opinion, you can talk about it. Right? You can discuss the Holocaust in your TOK essay. However, you need to reason it really well because you're competing maybe a few hundred other students discussing about the Holocaust, right? So you choose this example if you can reason it well, okay? So the first example, Holocaust denial and revisionism, right? So, there are some people who denies the Holocaust, right? So because of that, historians have to go back, and then historians and human scientists have because of that, because in the face of the Holocaust denier, so what historians and human scientists have done is because they have an ethical obligation to confront and refute these claims by presenting and acknowledging all available evidence, right? So they did talk about it. And same thing with the climate change and environmental history and Turkish Slapi story, discovery of the Americans and indigenous population. I'm going to talk more about these examples with my video that is dedicated for this topic only, okay? And some of you might be thinking about Donald Trump, Mr. President, discussed global warming is expensive hoax in his Twitter, and then thinking about how people responded to it, and use it as an example. That's not a good example to use, okay? Because this title talks about the history and human science, right? You have to discuss this topic with the history example that actually happened, discussed it officially, and have a primary sources, okay? Okay, then let's talk about the prescribed title number 2. Is our most revered knowledge more fragile than it assumed it to be? Discuss it with the reference to the arts and one other area of knowledge. So focus word with this title is revealed knowledge and then assume. Okay, and then maybe fragile, but you need to focus on the fragile. We have to discuss this topic with the reference to arts and then one other area of knowledge, and probably with this one other area of knowledge you will choose history because there will be a lot of examples to discuss it with, right? And then with the art part, the reason why I'm saying art and history is with art, I mean, let's talk about art, right? The art is the AOK that I've actually chosen it for you, right? With the art, you're not talking about how the picture is destroyed, right? You're talking about how knowledge has been changed, and then like maybe how it was like interpreted differently. That's what you need to discuss with this art part. And same thing with the history, right? So this is another fun yes and no perspective title. And just as I said before, you never just going to say yes because of this example, no because of this example, right? You're going to always say yes because of this example, and this is how it's interpreted by me, and then this is my reasoning to support my answer. That's how you're going to say, right? So examples that you can use with the title, this title is, first thing is degenerate art in Nazi Germany. Okay, again, another word took example. Yes, I know, like, you know, some of your teachers and might be saying like don't use World War II, it's too common among your peers. But if you can, my opinion is if you can talk about it well, you definitely should use it, because if you know that example very well, that means you will reason it very well too, right? So in that means that can lead to a high score, right? So for example here, first example here, I'm saying the degenerate art in Nazi Germany. So the reason why I'm saying is like during the Nazi reason, modern art, especially that of, you know, avant-garde movements, was labeled as a degenerate, and it was banned and it was like destroyed or they removed from the public view. So that can be a good art example. And then Holocaust denial can be a history example. You know, I said that use history as your other TOK, right? I mean other AOK, right? Because that's where you can find the most of the example for this title. And then another thing that you can discuss is the collapse of the Asian civilization, like Mayans, like in history. Okay, interpretation of the Mona Lisa's smile. You know, Mona Lisa's smile has been interpreted quite differently throughout the history. So it can be a good example in art. And then destruction of the culture heritage site. Okay, that can be another example for art. So, you know, destruction of the culture heritage site. Like, I'm not just talking about, you know, people just going there and then, you know, like write something on the historical like constructions or the sites. Like I'm talking about the, you know, cases where, you know, like Taliban's destroying such thing as like Maiman Buddha, right, in 2001. That can be a good example for the art. Okay, the reason why the Taliban destroyed that Bamiyan Buddha is due to the religious reasons, right? So that can be a good art example. I'm going to talk more about these examples in my upcoming video for this title. Okay. Then prescribed title number 3. How can we reconcile the relentless drive to pursue knowledge with the finite resources we have available? So we had how can we reconcile topic or the title in 2024. Okay, I think, like honestly, quite a lot of my students chose how can you reconcile title in 2024, and they did well. Okay, so this topic, prescribed title number 3, will be very popular, I think, this year again, and then will be chosen by many students. But I'm not saying that you should not do this question, right? You should do this question if you like this question, and then what you need to remember is, because it says that how can we reconcile, because of that, what you need to discuss with this prescribed title is like, cannot reconcile. You need to focus on this. We cannot reconcile, or we can reconcile some and then reconcile fully. That's what you need to discuss with this title, and also you need to discuss the method to do it. Okay, that's the most important part. Okay, so how can we reconcile the relentless drive to pursue knowledge with the finite resources we have available? So the focus word in this case are reconcile, relentless, pursue knowledge, and finite resources. That's what you need to remember in your essay. Okay, and we need to discuss it with a reference to the natural science and one other area of the knowledge, right? So to this question, this is not a yes or no question as I discussed it before. You need to address this, like why might be good to pursue knowledge with the finite resources, and discuss it, the benefits, then discuss way of reconciling the relentless drive. So I'm going to talk more about this in my dedicated video, but this is what you need to remember with this title. This is not yes or no question. This is addressing question. You need to talk about why might be a good to pursue knowledge with the finite resources, and discuss the benefit, and discuss way of reconciling the relentless drive. Or you need to talk about why not might be a good to pursue knowledge with the finite resources, and then discuss the benefit and discuss way of reconciling the relentless drive, right? So let's talk about this with my next video. And the examples that you can use is the such thing as adopting Green Labs in an initiative in natural science, focus on urgent global challenges, that's natural science, cost-benefit analysis in economy in human science. Yes, we're going to use economies as examples from the economies, because that's what right? Some of you might be taking economics already in your school. Okay, so it's good to use economy as a your human science example, because you can maybe ask your econ teacher more about it, right? And then write about it more with a more better reasoning. So that's the reason why I'm saying use economies. And then large scale research collaboration, or development of the COVID-19 vaccines. So COVID-19 vaccine is not just natural science, it also falls into the human science. Development means that there's a cost, right? Okay, so prescribed title number 4. This is very interesting title. IB is doing their own thing again, okay, with this title. So do the ever improving tools of an area of knowledge always result in improved knowledge? So the IB gave you the answer already. They say that always. That means you need to discuss this title around the always part. Okay. So it's asking, do the ever improving tools of an area of knowledge always result in improved knowledge? So you're going to say, no, it's not always, or yes, it is always. And then you're going to use two areas of knowledge, right? So you need to say, okay, so ever improving tools always result in improved knowledge. Ever improving tools not always result in improved knowledge. Okay, that's what you need to discuss. So means this is another yes and no perspective. So just like I have said before, you never going to just say yes because of this example, no because of this example. You're going to say yes here's my example because of these reasons. No, here are my example because of these reasons. Okay? And examples that you can use here is the CRISPR gene technology. This is natural science, right? And then development of the digital tools such as graphic design software and digital planning platforms. This is another natural science. Do you remember in my first video, I have said that this title is more for the STEM people, right? And then number 3, rules of the transition skills and authenticity concerns in art. So this is from the AOK of art, right? So maybe with this topic, you can use natural science and art as your AOKs, okay? Okay, then let's talk about the prescribed title number 5. Personally, I love this title. If you're doing HMS or if you're a STEM person, you also going to love this title, okay? So to what extent do you agree with the claim all models are wrong, but some are useful, attributed to the George Box? George Box means Professor Box, like he's a statistic professor, and he's quite famous for saying these phrases, okay? And then we have to discuss it with the reference to mathematics and one other area of the knowledge. So we have to discuss with the reference to mathematics and one other area of the knowledge. Do you know why we have to discuss it with the mathematics? Because this phrase is from statistic, right? So that's the reason why they want us to discuss it with the mathematics, and we can use quite a lot of these statistic models as an example for this title, okay? So let's talk about a little bit more about this phrase, right? So George Box, he is famous for writing an accidental statistician, okay? It's going to be boring if you're not a math person, but it's quite fun, okay? So with this phrase, the first part, all models wrong, is a common aphorism in statistics, okay? So the aphorism acknowledges that statistical models always fall short of the complexities of the reality but can still be used. This is something that you need to remember when you're thinking about the examples, right? And the aphorism originally referred just to statistical models, but now sometimes used for the scientific models too. That means you can, on top of your mathematics, right, your AOK 1, you can use natural science as your AOK 2, okay? Because now this aphorism, all models are wrong, is actually used in some models of some scientific models, right? So that's what you need to remember. So examples that you can use are the linear models in statistics, right? And then chaos theory, and the Bohr models of the atom in natural science, and then pharmacokinetics models in natural science. This is going to be a very good example, I think. Also the linear models in statistics, okay? Then let's talk about title number 6, the last title, okay? Does acquiring knowledge destroy our sense of wonder? Like when I first saw this title, this is going to be the hardest one to discuss, right? So the focus word with this title is acquiring and destroying. So we have to talk about acquiring knowledge. So when you get smarter, it's going to destroy our sense of curiosity, sense of wonder. That's what you need to discuss with the prescribed title number 6, okay? And we need to discuss it with the reference to 2 areas of knowledge. I'm going to upload, don't forget, I'm going to upload a dedicated video for this prescribed title, okay? But let's talk briefly about this title first. So this is another find yes and no perspective title, but never say just yes because of this example, no because of this example, right? You're going to say yes, this is my example, and because of these reasons. And no, this is my example, and because of this example, and we're going to present your reasoning. Don't forget that. Reasoning is the most important part of your TOK essay to score higher points. And examples that you can use with this title are like astronomy and the cosmos in the natural science, and biology and complexity of the life, music and emotional depths, and the over intellectualizing art. These are the examples that you can use for this title. Okay, so that's it for my breakdown videos. And don't forget, I'm going to post the dedicated videos for each title next week. So if you like my videos, please like the videos and subscribe to my channel. Bye!